Cool.
All right, so welcome to episode 4. We're joined today by the one and only Supernova, which we are super excited to have on
Yeah.
the podcast. Super OG multi-boxer, but I feel like for somebody who's like so like visible, I don't know much about you, like at all. Like I know
Working as
I know you play
intended.
druids. Yeah, well, yeah, the man in the
Kind
shadows,
of.
so
the
to
myth,
speak,
the
right?
legend.
Yeah. So I'm just a WoW nerd that sucks at playing WoW. That's pretty much it.
Okay, I can go with that.
So you multi-boxed prior to WoW though, right? Like you were like one of the old EverQuest guys, right?
So I wasn't one of the super early ones. I did multi-box EverQuest for about 2 days, and then kind of went back to WoW. I thought EverQuest might be easier because I had played EverQuest and WoW was still kind of new. This was 2000. Well, WoW wasn't really new, I guess. This was 2007, 2008 ish. That's kind of when I really just said screw it and went heavy into trying to multi-box WoW. I started out with 3 Shaman. And that's also kind of when I found dualboxing.com. I found this crazy guy named Elay running 5 Shamans in the arena. And this I had seen videos, and what kind of got me started was in Classic. I saw videos of this really crazy guy Exen running 5 mages, and just blew my mind. Like many other minds were blown with Exen and his mages, and kind of I started in TBC is kind of when I got my start and went through and really loved boxing all through the different expansions except for Cataclysm. Cataclysm was kind of when I went off to be a solo PvP nerd, and I was so horrible at it.
Cataclysm was kind of rough for multi-boxing. The dungeons were like really hard.
Yeah, it was hard. So I kind of took a break from multiboxing, and then I guess the highlight of multiboxing for me was the end of Burning Crusades and through the Wrath of the Lich King, where we had a multi-boxing guild on Killed Jaden. That was Legion of Boom. That was my second big multi-boxing guild. The original being, of course, the Zerg on. Oh my God, is it? It's not Malfurion, is it?
Magtheridon?
Magtheridon. Yes, sorry. Yeah, the original OG multi-boxing guild, the Zerg on Magtheridon, which was mine and many other people's first multi-boxing guild. That was a lot of fun. We made Legion of Boom a really big thing, and it went really well. We were able to get a huge guild of multi-boxers online, and we did tons of world PvP, and we probably did some things that today would be considered camping or griefing, and
Yeah.
we were kind of jerks about it. And looking back, I don't have any regrets, but we were definitely jerks about some of the PvP things we did. But mostly what we were doing is we're 5-boxing the dungeons as much as we could. There were some of us that were even playing solo in a raid team that had done some solo raiding before that, so we started up another raid team. And then kind of after that expansion, we just kind of everything kind of fell apart. Everybody kept doing their own thing, kind of off on their own, and Mirai and Vector and Crumb and I kind of stayed in touch and kind of all stayed at least kind of on the same servers. Those are some of like the most OG Warcraft people that I know from multi-boxing, and for some reason we've been able to become really good friends throughout all this time, and have kind of stayed playing different games together. So multi-boxing for me, it's definitely not just a kind of a hobby where I do this thing to make gold in a game. It's kind of a long-standing hobby where I've been able to meet a lot of cool people and been able to even pick up some contract work and make an income off of multi-boxing to a certain extent, in being able to help provide community things and be able to do things for the community, provide support, help run sites. I got involved in dual-boxing.com early with Elay and multi-days, and I helped him go through a couple different revisions of the site, and we made some horrible decisions together. We made some awesome decisions together. So always
I don't think
fondly.
Zoc knows that.
I actually did not. So that's totally news to me. So
Yeah.
wait, were you the original like proprietor of dualboxing.com then?
Yeah, you got it. Yep. Yeah.
I actually did not know that.
Yeah.
I feel like a total schmuck for not knowing that.
No,
Well,
I don't openly broadcast. It's not a big deal. It's not like a bad thing or anything. Yeah.
Sorry if I'm spilling secrets here.
No, totally fine. Totally fine.
So if for anybody else who doesn't know the story, Elay ran the site, started the site, lots of people started using it. We had lots of server issues and maintenance problems, probably because
too much traffic.
Multi-days, yeah, too much traffic. It was and it's not like you had a ton of time with your day job and all the stuff you had going on as well to work on it. And I kind of came up and I was like, hey, I kind of know what I'm doing with some of this stuff. Can I help?
I was so grateful, so thankful.
so yeah, that's kind of when myself and Mirai and Vector and a few other people got involved with helping run dual-boxing.com. Yeah. And then not too terribly long after that is when Lax came in and was like, you know what, this is a great resource for the community. I'll just buy it and pay people to help maintain it. Yeah. And that's exactly what he did. Lax picked it up and kind of paid Mirai and several other people to kind of help maintain it and help push not only the Lavish Soft products, because that's Lax's core business, right? You know, multi-boxing software and software accessories. That's him. But at the same time, he's like, you know, this kind of natural community that has been around this hobby is really great, and I want to make sure that is nurtured and supported and carried on, because even at the end of the day, even without a business behind it, it's kind of this organic thing, and it's just been really awesome to see. So a lot of people have come and gone in the multi-boxing world, whether they're software, whether they're hardware, and then all of a sudden hardware is now a thing again. So it's kind of cool to see so many people be able to come in and provide positive influences and interactions within the community, as well as be able to kind of help give people like side jobs and stuff. I mean, it's not like Lavish Soft is my full-time job, but you know, it definitely helps, and it definitely gives me stuff to put on my resume, and it lets me play with cool things that I don't get to necessarily play with in my day job.
Nice.
And I get paid for playing with video game websites, and that's kind of awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't know like most of that, and I've always like kind of wondered like what the structure is, because I know like Lax, from a development perspective, I believe he's probably a one-man show. Maybe he like contracts out to you guys for some stuff, but I get the impression that it's kind of he kind of runs the show, so to speak. But then there's like all of you guys that do a lot of like admin work and other like random things behind the scenes that like no one sees, and it's, you know, then you hear about what you're working on. It's like, holy cow, that's freaking sweet, man.
Yeah, it's really cool. And Lax, you're right. It is a one-man shop because it's a proprietary software system, right? He built all of that himself. And he has to protect that, because that comes down to what, you know, protects him and the income. So the official company structure is it's him and his wife, and then everybody else is contractors. His wife helps him run like all the financial stuff and the HR stuff of the business, and he does all the product and everything else. So a lot of the people who are paid to work on ISBoxer are paid either contractors like me, or it's support staff who spend time in the Discord channels or on the forums doing support. We actually just hired 2 new support staff to kind of help with what we thought was going to be a big rush of the new Shadowlands expansion. The Blizzard change kind of squashed a little bit of that, but he still brought on 2 people. So he's definitely able to do that kind of stuff, which is really awesome to kind of help push money into the community and money into focused ways into its people doing engagement, its people making content. Mirai is probably the most famous one because he makes all these amazing videos that look incredible and teach people how to do the different multi-boxing thing. And then he makes a video when I badger him enough about eating a slice of pizza, and even those are great.
Yeah, it seems like there's a video. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you're fine. Go ahead. Go for it.
Oh, I just said that, you know, it seems like there's like a video for everything. Like I never, like any game you want to play, anything you want to look at, there's like Mirai's got a video for it, and it's such a great like invaluable tool to just like have those to be able to reference them. And I'm sure like when you're supporting people in Discord or explaining something to people, it's like so much easier just to send somebody a link and say, hey, go figure it out. Then just to like try to troubleshoot their problem, you know.
Yeah, and there's a ton of stuff that they wouldn't create. Mirai wouldn't create GIFs for a lot of the things, just to show really quick actions to be able to kind of just like have an automatic reaction to somebody asking a question. It's like, yeah, here's a GIF that shows you how to do this, and it's really awesome to be able to see that kind of stuff. And you know, that's what Mirai likes doing too, is creating that content and making those videos look incredible.
Oh yeah. The product overall that Lax has produced is amazing, you know, and it's really impressive that one person has been able to make something that's so good, which is why like when this news came out with Blizzard making their changes and everything, one of the things that I focused on too, and even Zoc has taken advantage of, is that it wasn't exclusive to World of Warcraft. You can still use the product for so many other games that is totally fine on it. Namely, like Final Fantasy XIV, which I find is a really awesome game as well. Out there. So I feel like IS Boxer itself, even though Joe Multiboxer's kind of, taken the lead a little bit, is still a good product. If you're not exclusive to World of Warcraft.
For sure. And like I think a lot of people are trying to come into and figure out what to call the differences in multiboxing, whether you're input broadcasting or you're not input broadcasting. And I think I have not boxed WoW since they announced the news. I took it very, very harshly and took my toys and essentially went home because that's how hurt I was over it. And I'm still kind of mad about it. I haven't logged into WoW since. I kind of went cold turkey on them, and just because I'm mad, right? I'm angry about the whole thing.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is I would have a hard time boxing without IS Boxer and without Repeater, because that's how I learned and that's what kind of clicked with me. But I see, as I've been helping test Joe Multiboxer, and as I see people discuss how they're going to solve some of the problems without having an ability to repeat keys or do key maps, it's really kind of encouraging to see the people who are so hardcore dedicated to the play style and dedicated to the hobby to be like, we want to figure this out. And Lax is being really awesome and kind of, literally dropped everything. He stopped work on IS Boxer 2, which has made some significant progress this year. And
he was supposed to go on vacation, right?
Do what?
He was supposed to go on vacation too, I think.
Well, I think a lot of people were supposed to go on vacation.
I agree.
But yeah, so IS Boxer 2 is on hold, pending the Joe Multiboxer, which was announced and released to the public yesterday. Depending on when you're listening to that, that was Sunday, November 22nd. So depending on by the time you're listening to this, it is available. You can go play with it. You don't have to be a coder. If you're expecting it to launch it and jump into running your dailies, you're probably going to have a bad time. It is a bit of a limited system because this is a pre-release. Essentially, what Lax did is went and built out and built all the functionality to give us the Joe Multiboxer platform. It is going to be up to Multiboxers to invent the UIs and the other scripts and programs that we'll use that run on top of it that will actually help manage the windows, move the windows around, and potentially even do some of the IS Boxer functionality, like the video FX, the ability to be able to stream or to be able to copy a window FX to a DX nothing. That sort of thing will be in Joe Multiboxer because it doesn't involve any broadcast keys.
Gotcha.
What?
So people like click healing or things like that, they can do this still by running from a tank potentially. And still
so your click healing is going to be, pressing whatever key to activate whatever session or window that you want, and then it will be doing whatever key or action is your heal. For me, I was a big Voodoo user, and I would use repeater regions on my tank to repeat the clicks to the second window, which was always my healer. So for me now in Joe Multiboxer to accomplish that same thing, I don't have that mouse over click, but I still have Voodoo the add-on. So what I would do is I would position my mouse over Voodoo because I have it in the same place on all my sessions.
Yeah.
I would hit the key bind to swap to my healer. I would click on Voodoo to click the spell, or I would do the key command to click the heal that I would want, and then I would press whatever keybind would be to go back. So, and I was talking to people last night. I jumped into the IS Boxer Discord voice chat and was like, hey, come ask me whatever you want about Joe Multiboxer except how to set it up for your bot farm, because I literally don't know how to do that, but let's talk about everything else. And there were some really awesome people jumped into chat, and it was really great to hear firsthand from people who were just starting to use the product and kind of get that initial feedback. And it was fun to give Lax some of that feedback, and Lax was like, no, that's not what they want. And I was like, no, Lax, I think they really do want that. And then I think he spent most of today seeing a lot of what I was telling him last night, where people were wanting things such as window management and to be able to do a little bit easier window management. Because right now it's kind of hard-coded. And if you're not a .NET developer, or if you're not a C developer, you may have a hard time reading some of the code. I am a lowly web developer, and I say that with all of the love in the world for web developers. I love what I do, but I'm not an application developer. I want to do things over the web.
But you said
So
there's modules though to accomplish that, right? Like people,
right.
somebody's gonna make the module at some point and then say like, hey, this is the window module, and then everybody just kind of grabs that as like an add-on.
Exactly. And then
Okay.
somebody else could go tweak and make one change to it and then share that. And then you could have their version of that module and it's going to be able to be shared out and it's going to be easy to discover these, which is one of the things that I'm working on. So modules to Joe Multiboxer. And I guess we should probably, for anybody who isn't glued to Discord, keeping up with all the latest Joe Multiboxer news, the Joe Multiboxer is the product for multiboxing World of Warcraft, specifically because it does not feature any input broadcasting capabilities. So things like key repeat, key maps, and repeater regions, interactive video effects, all of that stuff is not in Joe Multiboxer. It doesn't support it at all. This is the safest way we could multibox with World of Warcraft with going by the rules where we can't have any input broadcasting. So all of that's been ripped out. We have a pre-release, which is what is accessible now. And essentially, people need to go build ISBoxer. And when I say that, I mean a couple different things. Imagine you building your own ISBoxer to configure your multiboxing operations and how everything works custom to you. That's essentially what you're doing with Joe Multiboxer. Where ISBoxer was an application to create an XML file that was read by Interspace that actually performed all of the tasks and behaved the way you told it to. Joe Multiboxer doesn't have that third-party application of ISBoxer. So everything has to be done within the consoles of Joe Multiboxer. And that's where these agents come in. Agents are essentially like WoW add-ons, but they're for the Joe Multiboxer application. It's a combination of what looks like some C# code, some .NET code, and JavaScript. The scripting language is called LavishScript. It is a proprietary language Lax built on top of other things.
He made his own code?
He made his own, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's a specific scripting language around interacting with Interspace, right? So it's this framework for building all of this functionality to let you do other cool things. And what it allows you to do is to build these UI agents like what we've seen, to where you can build in functions and methods to write code, to put buttons on the screen that launch your instances, that arrange your window layouts, and can bind your keys. Now, you can do a ton of things around window layouts without having to do any input broadcasting. You can programmatically have it set up to where global binds will move the windows around for you. So, for example, how are you going to multibox with Joe Multiboxer? Well, one example, and this is not the only way, one example of what I came up with, and look, I'm not even the smartest guy in the room and all this. I'm just a dude over here trying to look smart with the other people. But ultimately, there is a feature called Focus Follows Mouse, and you can turn that on in your operating system, and what it will enable is you can hover over a window, and the window will become active to the foreground. So it's essentially like you get to click on the window, but you don't actually have to do the click. And as multiboxers, we're into being lazy and doing things as lazy as possible. This is right up our alley. So once you've launched your 5 windows, or however many WoW windows you have, you would turn on this feature, Focus Follows Mouse. So wherever you wave your mouse around, whatever window you wave on top of will be activated and come up to the top. Then you press your button, your DPS button, and then you hit your keybind to switch to the next window. Or you just you literally wave your mouse cursor around, spamming your 1 key, because that's to your GSE macro that does your assist and fires your DPS, right?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of different ways you can do it.
I think somebody showed a video on that too already as well. They did a dungeon.
And people are doing dungeons. People are doing all kinds of tests, and it's really I'm excited and inspired of how well it's all kind of coming together. It's definitely happening a lot faster and a lot more naturally than I expected it to. Which I'm happy to see. So the other cool thing that Lax mentioned that I don't know if anybody has picked up yet, I haven't seen anybody do it or mention it in the code channels yet, but with the tools provided, you could have your WoW windows moving constantly. So think about just the normal window rotation where you have your large window, and then over on the side you have this little film strip of your 4 other windows, maybe 5 windows. You could programmatically have those windows moving up and down the screen constantly. And you could just sit there with your mouse and click, and you would be clicking in the window, pressing a keybind, and you could multibox that way.
That's
Is that going to be
an idea?
I mean, is that going to be an efficient way? I have no idea. But the idea of somebody trying to multi-box with windows that are automatically moving kind of blows my mind and makes me laugh, because I would think that would be incredibly difficult. But it's a thing that you could do, right? So most people are familiar with the really super fast region swapping that Interspace allows you to have, and
Yes.
ISBoxer allows you to have that same thing. What you're doing there is you're actually setting the global keybinds. So in the Joe Multiboxer API, underneath what those UIs are using, there's tons of functionality there that can be replicated, and you essentially extract it all out to a button. And then once you have your button working, you can kind of figure out how do you piece this Lego piece onto another piece of Lego to make something better and bigger and cooler. So you've already seen some of the drop-down stuff. There's all kinds of form controls. All of the GUI stuff is handled in LavishScript GUI, which essentially is JavaScript GUI framework. It's a lot better than trying to do this in XML, I assure you. It's a lot easier than trying to do this in XML. So the configuration options are going to allow you to be able to create these add-ons that are agents and then share them. So the big thing that I was talking to Lax about earlier today is how is JoeMultiboxer.com specifically going to facilitate sharing out these agents and aggregating them? How do we provide a place where people can go find them? So ideally, we want to be like the curse forge of where you go find your Joe Multiboxer agents. So my plan currently is to build in functionality to the website.
We don't have to use Overwolf though, right?
No, you will not have to use Overwolf.
Okay.
Maybe I should monetize this and we should just charge.
Just throw some ads on there or something. No.
Yeah, throw some ads. I'll just throw my Bitcoin wallet address on there and people can send me Bitcoin. But no, so what we'll do is we'll have it where you log into JoeMultiboxer.com with your LavishSoft account. If you haven't looked at the Paste ISBoxer site, we've already done that there, and it's kind of a cool feature. So what we can do is we can be able to give you the ability to go in and submit your agent, but we're not going to actually host the agent. So we want to promote better development practices. And if you aren't a developer, you're not a techie, what that is really kind of nerd speak for is we want people to use version control. So that kind of involves Git and GitHub. And if those are scary words, don't worry. You don't have to be an expert to go do this. We can kind of help you along.
I'm kind of embarrassed I do not have a GitHub myself, and I probably should make one too. So.
But no, it's fine, right? So what we want to do is we want to push people to go create GitHub accounts and create repos for their agents. And then what we'll do is you can fill out this form on JoeMultiboxer.com that says, this is Super's amazing agent. The description is, it's made by Supernova. What more could you want? And then I'll put in my GitHub URL, right? So where you'll be able to go download it. And then on the Joe Multiboxer side, when I submit that, I'll first have to get it approved by a moderator or one of the support staff. Somebody who has some credibility with Lavish is going to review that and make sure people just aren't spamming junk. So once it gets approved, it will go on to the area of the website that we're going to have that's going to be like all the agents. And we're going to be able to mark agents from the official team. We're going to be able to mark agents from other users. You're going to be able to see your agents. You're going to be able to edit the agent information that gets displayed on the website, that sort of thing. So that's kind of how we want to, at least initially, start out facilitating people sharing and discovering agents. Because right now, everybody's going nuts creating their own agents and then trying to level in the new expansion that just came out, and then trying to going back and forth between the two different things. So I'm not expecting people to be rushing to do all of this too soon, because especially with all of the new content to go explore and get bored of super fast, however you want to consume your expansion. So there's that sort of thing. So we've got time to do all this. This is also on top of the change that we still have coming, where we're going to be migrating dual-boxing.com to multiboxing.com.
Excited about that.
Launching a brand new website. That is still in progress. That is still taking a long time. There's a lot of work that goes into that.
Mariah was talking about it a little bit on our I think our first podcast there too.
Still, it's a ton of work.
Excited. I know there's a lot going on behind the scenes though, so there's no pressure with that. Obviously, it's we still have a platform.
Thanks for sharing all this though, because I've been trying to wrap my head around what people will use Joe Multiboxer for.
Yeah, me too.
Because I'm well, I guess you could move your mouse into the different screens and push a button. I'm like, that doesn't sound like it would be very productive. It seems like it'd be probably the most effective in Classic, but just because retail is so fast paced, right? Like you're casting spells constantly. If you're a BM hunter, you're like sitting like the faster you can attack, the better. So I'm actually kind of curious to see how people play this out, and I'm even more curious to see like how Blizzard responds to it, if they respond at all. But I guess that response will be driven by the overall like the adoption and kind of what people do with it. Because I think the concerning part for me is that you don't need much to like AFK farm in terms of like setup of anything, and so it almost like feeds to that naturally better. Like that's my concern.
So the one advantage Joe Multiboxer has on that, as opposed to Interspace, is Interspace was designed initially to have networking available to it, to where you could run it across multiple computers. You can even run your character sets across multiple computers, and that was one of the things that quickly allowed the abuse of multiboxing on a really large scale. And Joe Multiboxer does not support networking. There's no, since you're not relaying input, there's no reason to have the clients on a network to be able to talk to each other across computers. So you're essentially limited to however many instances of WoW you can run on one computer. People are still going to abuse that. This is Lavish's best answer, or not necessarily best answer, but this is their response to Blizzard saying, "Hey, we don't want to do input broadcasting anymore." Right? That's kind of what Joe Multiboxer is. It's like, okay, well, we are this huge community of multiboxers. We want to continue playing in this play style. We're going to adjust with your rules, and we just have to take it on faith that we're both going to be good faith actors here. What happens ultimately is all of the bad faith actors come in and ruin the good time for everybody. It sucks,
Yeah,
but it's what
yeah.
happens, right?
I think Blizzard is also, from what I've seen play out in the past week or so, it seems like Blizzard is you can kind of get an idea of what they're targeting now too, with their change, with the policy change they made, because it's not only the software change though, but there was a lot of account actions I want to say that happened in the past week or so, and it seemed like they targeted a specific type of gameplay that they didn't like, for better or worse. I mean, but that's I think they're still gonna go after that, even if they try to utilize the new system for the wrong intentions. I think
For sure. And
I see a positive light there, sort of like in terms of like, I'm kind of happy that like what I think like I'm trying to accomplish and things like that. I think they didn't really, like, we were just like side fodder, the whole what their goal
we were
is.
collateral damage.
That's a better word for it. Yeah.
Honestly, I think what happened was so about 6 weeks ago, there was not a ban wave, but there were a lot of bans that happened in the standstill farming community, and they kind of came out of nowhere. And I feel like what happened was Blizzard turned up, and some IS Boxer users were also caught in that. Some non-standstill farmer IS Boxer users were caught in that ban as well, which is kind of what tips me off to maybe make this make sense. And I fully will preface this by saying this is total conspiracy theory. I don't know how accurate any of this is. I don't work for Blizzard. I only know what I know and what I've been told. But my thought was they did this ban where they were testing out some new settings. And if you want to say that's Warden, that's fine. But if you're not Blizzard and you're not Lax, we're not going to talk about Warden. That's kind of my rules for Warden. So they increased the ban accuracy, or they increased something to where they were able to catch people botting or doing this AFK farming, whatever. Then all these multiboxers were wrongly / correctly caught in this, so they pushed back and said, "Hey, I'm multiboxing," and then some of them got their bans overturned. Some of them, Blizzard was like, "No, you were botting. We watched you because we actually have witnesses," and they actually tell you that these days in the reports, which is amazing. So I think that multiboxers got caught up in this, and then Blizzard, the developers, the tech team, whoever does this, went back and said, "Okay, how do we get our accuracy better?" And the tech people probably said, "Well, we're looking for input broadcasting. If we just tell people that input broadcasting is going to be what we're going to take action for, then that will catch all of the people who were falsely reported previously, the multiboxers. So I think that's what ultimately led to the policy change. Is they accidentally banned a bunch of people. They fixed the ones that they shouldn't have, and then they came back and said, "Oh, I think we really like this new setting that we can detect things on. So let's just go ahead and run it." That's my conspiracy theory. I'm sticking with it for now.
That makes sense.
Not a bad one.
Yeah. I mean,
Plausible.
I mean, again, the issue with that too is that I mean, and it's just technology as a whole, right? Like, WoW has made an amazing game where you can play it on a potato, but there's processors now. There's processors now that allow you to play so many instances of WoW within one isolated setting that it you can ramp up to ridiculous levels, which was never possible.
Yeah,
in the original.
I was telling some of the people last night in the Lavish Discord, I was like, you know what? It kind of cracks me up as someone who is like, I watched WoW Classic in real time unfold. I'm an early days player, so I watched them put out a game that was so boring and so lucrative that bots flocked to the RMT, the real money transaction aspect of the game. And then however many years later, 10, 15 years later, they're like, oh, hey, let's go remake that game, right? And it's like, well, you're just going to have all these bots come back. And they're like, no, they won't want to do that. And what do you have? You have this huge influx of botters trying to provide shortcuts to the people who think they want to do the nostalgia content, but only really kind of partially want to do the nostalgia content.
For that to happen, there has to be some kind of demand, right? You're not going to supply something that nobody wants, which is surprising to me because I initially thought, like, naively that wouldn't happen either on Classic, because I was like, well, they have the WoW token system, but it doesn't exist in Classic. It's just a retail only thing. But
right, the WoW token system, I think that was the death knell for multiboxing. I think was that, because that allowed people to abuse the monetary value of it, because you could farm all the gold you wanted in whatever nefarious or legitimate ways, or respectable or unrespectable, however you wanted to classify them. You could make your gold and get that money, but you would then cash it out for BattleNet money. And at that point, you're cashing out dozens of tokens for BattleNet balance, and you're buying loot boxes, you're buying avatars, you're buying expansion. That's where you're actually eating into Blizzard profits. I think that is where because you're not playing, you are spending tons and tons of time and hours in a week playing the game, right? But you're not paying them anything. You're not paying subscription fees because you're paying with tokens. You're not buying expansions with cash because you're buying tokens. I think if they had removed the ability to get real everyday value out of the token, then you would have been able to do it.
But somebody had to pay for the token, though, hypothetically, still, though. So, like, sort of, but it's like an alternative. I don't know.
Somebody still bought the token, right? You still had to have somebody buy the token. So maybe the token, maybe the detrimental part of the token wasn't just the ability to turn it into BattleNet balance, but hey, I'm a big fan of the token. I have bought several tokens because it is a fantastic resource to be able to go do it. But
I think it's a scale problem. I think it becomes a problem at scale, right? Because, right, somebody pays more money for a token than an individual is going to pay for like a month of game time or whatever. But then people are then like, okay, well, I want to get the Brutosaurus, so I'm gonna like $8, or I'm gonna $5 farm. And they're like, well, I can do this, but if I like upgrade to 16, then I can do even more. And then at that level, it kind of like stops being something where it's like an individual kind of using the system, and it becomes a little bit of an abusive relationship to some degree. Like, I don't think that it's overall good for the health of the economy of the game if there's like a lot of people doing it at a very large scale. I think that's the problem. And I'm not like condemning people that like farm or anything like that, like, at all. I just think it's actually a scale problem that they kind of caused themselves, and they don't have another answer for.
I don't know that it's a scale problem, other than I would say their algorithms need to be tweaked. I think the demand and what drives the in-game gold price is way too low. I think because for essentially in the US, I don't know about Europe, but apparently, or in the US, you can get 120k gold for like $20 for a while. That was kind of the going rate. And that's a really good value. That is a really good value for somebody who, has their own job, lives with maybe a spouse, maybe lives with parents. That's a super, awesome value. And I think that they're not conveying that value exchange between the subscription and the gold. I think there's the imbalance there, to where if the tokens were more substantial gold expense, that would level that playing field a little bit more. Maybe even pay more for it because you're valuing that more. Because ultimately what you're buying is you're buying time to spend in the game, playing the game, which Blizzard's only ever interested in giving you more of that at whatever rate
Right.
they can.
Yeah, they definitely want to keep you in it for the longevity, for sure. I guess I just lost my train of thought there. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah, no, those the goal it's always so dangerous to like think about like Blizzard's true intentions, because they call out botting specifically in their like original TOS change.
Well, I think that's because that is your pure evil, right? Or your chaotic evil, right? That's
the
just
one everyone can get behind.
right.
Yeah.
Everybody hates those people, but not everybody hates the standstill farmers. And I'm not saying people should hate standstill farmers. I'm just saying that there are definitely behaviors that have caused issues and disruption, and much more of it goes unnoticed by the people who are doing it because they think they're just playing it their way and F everybody else, and who am I to tell anybody else how to play a game? Well, Blizzard has come in and said, well, we're actually the owners of the game. We're going to tell you how to play the game.
Yeah, and I think
Well,
and they've been working on that in multiple angles, I think, too.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a common trend if you listen to like any of the big names in WoW content creation. Is Blizzard has an idea for how they want you to play the game, and you're gonna play the game that way,
Yeah.
or else you're not going to enjoy the game at all.
Yeah.
I don't
That
know,
was
it's-
that was their Diablo 4 debacle too from last BlizzCon, right? Like not the last one, but the one before that, where they came out with like Diablo Immortal instead.
Dude, I
Oh, Immortal,
I
yeah.
I am
Yeah.
excited about Immortal. I will play the.
They're
I
you guys
dude,
want a
the-
mobile game. You do not want another PC game.
No, here's the deal. All right, like it's kind of weird because COVID's out now, and like I don't really leave my desk ever, other than to sleep and to work out and go outside and do things from time to time. But before like COVID, I wasn't home that much at all. Like I was traveling a lot. If I wasn't like working or like out working out, like I was reffing hockey, and between hockey games, I would just like dick around on my phone and play games. So like the idea of playing Diablo on my cell phone for like 15 minutes between like while the Zamboni cuts the ice, I'm sold. I'm there.
Well, there is a demand for it, and I have to agree on that in that sense. Like they're looking at it from a monetary standpoint, not from what they originally created, and like keeping with the spirit of it. Because I mean, EA owns, what is it? No, I'm sorry, Activision Blizzard, right? So Activision owns Candy Crush. Now, and Candy Crush apparently makes more money
They make so
still,
much money.
it's more money still than World of Warcraft, and you're like, wait, it's Candy Crush. Like, what are you talking about? Like, so I mean, they're looking at this from the same standpoint. Okay, like let's slap it on mobile. Let's get some kind of like returning revenue.
Mobile is a huge market.
Yes, it's massive. I agree, and
It's
that's what they're
massive.
going
More
with.
people have mobile phones than WoW computers that can run
Yeah.
WoW at setting 3 or higher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I know plenty of people that. I mean, I'm one of those people. Like, I'll pay for phone games. Like, it's like, oh, $5 to do like this thing, and I save myself a bunch of time. Like, sure, whatever. And actually, this is interesting. So I sent you a picture.
Yeah, I was about to
over the
bring this up
weekend.
just now. Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody had posted in Discord about how they had used this application to basically with an Android emulator on their computer to like multi-box cell phone games, and I got my girlfriend set up with it, and she was like 4-boxing some random trashy cell phone game. So Diablo Immortal multi-boxing is coming.
That is going to be pretty awesome. I'll have to figure out how you're going to make that happen. Yeah, but
No, it's actually cool. It has the application itself has mouse broadcasting, like
Okay.
input broadcasting. So you can select which screens to input broadcast to. It's actually pretty cool.
Huh. Yeah, I know the KM broadcaster or synchronizers, I want to call them, as like I got. Also, apparently they show pictures that they go for cell phones too. So maybe I can tap into that.
So potentially you could use ISBoxer 2 for that, but the problem is ISBoxer 2 is kind of in a in a messy disarray of state, so something may not
Yeah.
work, and you're probably
Yeah,
not gonna have
that's
high
the
priority
biggest
of
shame in
life
all
to
this.
fix it. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, as soon as Diablo Immortal comes out, there's going to be a big demand, and we'll get IS Boxer 2 then at that point to make its
Multiboxing the
debut.
WoW companion app is super simple from Jabari. Yeah, I kind of wish I did have multiple phones, especially when I was multiboxing WoW and trying to do all of the things on the ship every day, the missions.
Do they still have
Mission
those in the
tables.
companion app? I haven't touched the companion
Yeah, they
app
actually
since
just
I came back.
re-updated the app recently. I haven't touched it though, but it's newer.
So now
Oh.
that Shadowlands is launched, you should be able to go back and do all the old expansions in the companion app as well. So you'll be able to go do, well, I think it's at least Legion and BFA and maybe the New Covenant stuff once you unlock that. I don't know if it goes back any farther than Legion though.
So the application Jabbery's talking about, Nox Player, they have the multicast app. That's the one I was talking about. I think Jabbery, I think you should put together a video of that. I think that'd be super cool to see. I have no intention of downloading an Android emulator and then like resubbing just so that I can multibox the WoW companion app, but I think you should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the companion app, if you search, if you're on Android or iOS, search for the WoW companion app. It's from Blizzard, and make sure you get the legit one. You can log into that application with your account and select your characters, and you can go do your mission table daily stuff from there. Like send your people out on missions and recruit people. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a mobile AH at one point too, I think.
There was, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, I never like quite got it because I feel like I just couldn't remember what I had bought and sold, and then it was just like a total cluster mess.
Yeah, it wasn't very user friendly, but if you knew what you were doing, it was very easy to go set up things and do shady things that they ultimately didn't want people doing.
So
Oh yeah, you're a web developer, right?
Yeah.
So on more of a positive note here, right? What have you been up to then? For gaming, Supernova, what have you been doing?
So in my rage week against Blizzard, I've been sticking it to the man super hard by playing Diablo 3.
Okay. Did you are you boxing or solo?
Just solo right now.
Okay.
Brand new season came out, and what can I say? I'm a sucker for rip everything off of me and make me start over, I guess.
Yeah.
So
no, it is. I didn't think it was going to be cool at all. I was really upset when they announced the first season when you had to like start all over again. I was like, what do you mean? And then after like a couple days, like this was no big deal. And I kind of look forward to the new seasons now.
Especially if you can get somebody to boost you, it's a lot of fun. So I've been playing Diablo 3. I've been playing Jedi Fallen Order.
What's the season about this time in Diablo 3?
I honestly don't know. I think the special thing this time is you get a fourth item in your Kanai's cube, but it has to be a specific item type. I think it has to be like a piece of jewelry or something.
Okay, I got you.
So I have noticed that so far. That's how little I've played. I've gotten to 70. I've gotten like my first 100 Paragon, but I haven't done much more past that. So, and then Final Fantasy 14. I've been playing that with Crumb and Vector a little bit. So
yeah,
I'm a fan of that.
I heard there's a confirmation that it's going on sale on the 25th, which I guess is that's Wednesday. It's gonna be on sale from the 25th through December 1st. I heard that there's a confirmation.
So Final Fantasy does something I really loved, and I actually have taken advantage of this in part. They let you buy boosts, so your characters can do any of the jobs, and the jobs are the different classes in the game. And please, if one of you knows more than me and I say something wrong, please correct me because I'm still kind of a noob. But you can do all these different jobs. So what you can do is you can purchase a boost for a job. And I played a red mage, and I got up to like level 57 or 37 or so. And I was just I hit a really slog grind fest and wasn't enjoying it. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll go spend the $25 for the red mage or the red mage. Yeah, red mage. Yeah. No, sorry, black mage is what I'm playing. Black mage, BLM. Black mage. I'll go buy the boost, and it'll take me to 70. And then I can start out the new expansion. So that was super awesome. So compare that to WoW. Imagine being able to buy a boost, which I guess you can. Buying a boost from 1 to 50 is essentially that $25 instead of $60. It was a lot cheaper. But on top of that, what about if you could go buy Draenor Flying? Or what if you could go buy the Warfront effort in BFA? And buy those story mode quests. They also offer that in Final Fantasy, which is really neat. So if you do buy a boost to level 70 and you don't want to have to go back and redo all of these other story quests, you can buy the different expansion story quests and they will complete all those quests and give you all the reputation rewards up to that particular point. I think it's a really awesome way to monetize the game without having to force people to go do content.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I made a video like yesterday, and it wasn't a great video. It was just kind of like just some thoughts while Final Fantasy was on the screen. But I talked about kind of like the main scenario quest line, which is what you're referring to that you can buy
Yeah.
boosts through. I love their implementation of it. The boosts aren't for me, but honestly, if I was making an alt, I would probably do it. But essentially, right, like the idea is that you have like one character. You only need one character because you can play every single class in the game under that one character, and you can switch classes like halfway through. And then you're really like your limiting factor is really the main storyline, the MSQ, the main story quest line, whatever. Um, which stinks because it's very long, but it's very good at the same time. Like it's a super amazing story. So like it's definitely worth doing once. And then if you decide like I want to play on a different server or I want to like play a different character or something, then like you can buy a boost to get through that. Or if you don't want to level up a job, you can go buy that boost. And you're not paying, like you said, $60 for the whole thing. Instead, you're only paying $25 for what you need. You've modularized it. And on top of that, like one point I hit on in the video that I really like is like WoW is really hard to introduce to new players at this point in time because people are like, I want to play the story. And you're like, okay, but you get to pick which story you want to play.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want to play the whole story. I'm like, you can't. I'm like, you like objectively can't. There's way too much going on. Once you start talking about like raid tiers and stuff like that, it just all goes out the window.
It's gotten a lot better. I will say now with especially with this expansion though, it's a lot easier to get into it. If somebody trying to join WoW at the 8.3 patch for like the last 9 months, it was almost like just wait till this is done
because
like
Shadowlands,
yeah, it was just too many catch up mechanics that were not there. Which apparently Shadowlands, from what I'm seeing, there's not a whole lot you're gonna be missing out on if you're not, there's no AP grind or anything like that we have anymore. So this should be good. So
well, yeah, but like even sorry,
go ahead.
I was gonna say even then though, like days like think about like BWL for instance. Like let's imagine Classic doesn't exist or somebody doesn't want to play Classic.
Yeah.
If you're leveling up, like even under the old system where you had to do every expansion in order, like your average player is never gonna do BWL. Like your average new player, that's a completely like, and then they're gonna go into like Cataclysm and they're gonna be like, who the heck's this Deathwing guy? Like it's just like it just feels bad. And then like you try to explain to somebody the story, and then you're like, oh, but this like Cataclysm thing happened, and then we went to like
Well, I mean, it's tough at the same time though, right? If you wanted to go through all of the content, like I don't know how you like somebody would be able to deal with that. It's kind of like the equivalent that Final Fantasy has though with their MSQ, their main storyline questing, like where they force you to kind of go through.
But only once.
Well, that's
like,
true. Only once.
That
is
true. Class, because the class is tied to your character, or I'm sorry, because your character can play any class. Your like storyline is tied to your character and not your class, which is nice because, I mean, I love alt leveling in WoW, but I like hated having to do the same thing over and over. Like I'd rather just run dungeons.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and somebody mentioned, why would you pay to skip or to pay to avoid playing parts of the game? And for me, I think it's not necessarily I'm paying to skip playing parts of the game. For Final Fantasy in that situation where I boosted from 30 to 60 or 30 to 70, whatever it was, 100% I paid to skip that quest grind. And I am 100% good with that because the system in Final Fantasy lets me go experience that at a higher level. So I can go run that content, and if I want, I can scale my level back down to that content, or I can run it as a max level and just power through it. For me, I would have a lot more fun just going power through all the content and not having to rely on other human players or that sort of thing to see the content and play the game. Also why I would multi-box. And exactly, time is money, and money sometimes saves the time. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you're spending your time where you're enjoying it, because if you're not enjoying it, why are you spending it there?
That was like the whole token thing for me in WoW is I never like really tried to like farm gold, but it seemed silly to me to like spend like 10 hours of game time.
It just really depends on how much free time you have overall.
Yeah,
for some
if you're more, but
then it makes it a little easier. But yeah, for me it was definitely when I tried to do it back in Legion. to just make those tokens to justify it to the way of like, oh, this isn't costing me money. I'm just doing this as fun. But like, it was a total burnout at the same time. So I just had at one point, I was like, all right, 5 characters, $75 a month, way cheaper than, not that anybody goes out to dinner anymore, but it was cheaper than that, or going to a movie. I have to find a different equivalency now. Cheaper than buying plants.
Buying plants.
Yeah. They die every year. What do you want me to do? We got to buy new ones.
That's a great example. My girlfriend hasn't weaponized the cost of multiboxing yet, but I'm sure it's going to come up at some point.
I feel it's very small. If you take a percentage of what your total budget hopefully is, you can be like, it's just a little teeny bit. But yeah. So in final,
there's people in that same vein that will be like, I can't believe you're spending $75 a month to play a game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I turn around and I'm like, I can't believe you're spending
$5 a day at Starbucks.
Well, that, or I can't believe you're spending 200 hours in the game doing something repetitive just so you can pay for playing the game. You're not actually doing anything in the game other than facilitating your ability to play the game. If that's what you're into, hey, I'm not here to tell anybody else how to play the game, but that's not for me.
Yeah, some people are into making gold.
Yeah, no, that's a definite thing too. I definitely don't want to like not demonize the wrong word, but yeah, like divide those users. It's still a fun thing. I'm just barely bad at like the whole auction house thing, but some people really enjoy that. Even before the token system and all that existed, they just loved the auction house, like the marketplace and all that on there.
I love all the economic sharks out there that are just ruthless. I love it. I love hearing about all the stories. I love
that's what you get is those stories. Yeah. Yeah, we're like it's like this person's cutting into my market, and they stand in front of me and they send nasty tells and stuff, and it's just like. I
got into it in Wrath, and it was like a lot of fun. I was also a dumb college kid that didn't really like have anything better to do with my time than troll the AH all day while sitting in class. But like, it was like super fun. I totally get why people do that.
Yeah, and that's
I
why I
wouldn't waste my time now, but
I think that's why WoW has done so well in different areas, is because there's just so many different facets that you can play the game as. Like you could just completely focus on transmogs or things like that.
That brings me back to another thing about the buying for boosts and such. For me, I think, and I feel like I'm incredibly lucky because I experienced WoW in real time. I saw the whole thing. Like I think about, and I compare that to EverQuest, where the people who, like when I was playing EverQuest, the people who had seen all of the big events unravel on all those servers across all the different expansions that have come and gone. EverQuest is about to release their 26th expansion.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I saw that when I was looking at it. It's crazy.
Yeah, so for me, I saw in real time WoW evolve and become what it is today. I didn't see that in Final Fantasy, and I actively paid to be able to make the content that I want to go see easier, so I can do it at a max level, and then slowly the content will eventually catch up with my level as I catch up with my main story quests. If I could have that same experience in WoW, I don't know that I would do it, because I experienced that all firsthand. Just like I'm not a big fan of Classic, I did it when it was new.
Yeah,
it's a solved problem for me. I don't enjoy it, but those people who weren't around then and do want to experience that should go do that for sure. It's great, and I kind of like the ability, and I think it parallels nicely to Final Fantasy in the main story quests and the boost, to be able to kind of go play the content the way you want to play it. Because I would also see, going back, if I hadn't played WoW since day one and I had just started playing it in the past 5 years or so, I would still want to go back and see some of those old raids and those old dungeons and see the stories that unfolded. Uldaman is an amazing dungeon that does not get enough respect. I loved that dungeon when it was in Classic. I still love it to this day, because I remember having to you would go to Uldaman and you would have a plan. It was you packed a lunch and you brought a spare friend sometimes, because that's just what you had to do to get through Uldaman.
I don't think I ever, I don't know that I ever did a full clear of Uldaman in vanilla.
BRD was the bad one for me. Blackrock Depths. That was just it's too massive. Way too massive.
I think I did one princess run.
I had both WoW physical Dead Tree dungeon companion guides. There was one for Classic, and then there was one when TBC came out. They released an updated TBC version 2.
I remember those.
I wore mine out because I memorized so much because I was just that much of a nerd, and just loved it that much. And I think that kind of experience also leaves me with the nostalgia that I have today. And maybe that's why, as much of a Blizzard nerd and WoW nerd that I am, is that I'm not playing Shadowlands right now. Maybe WoW is over for me, and that's sad, but it's also kind of exciting. Like, what's the next multiboxing thing that I want to go do? Because I reinstalled Rift. I multiboxed Rift way back in the day and enjoyed it, and it was a lot of fun. So maybe I'm going to spin that up. I will also say, for anybody that does know me, don't be surprised if you see me playing WoW next week or even tomorrow, because that's probably going to be a thing that happens. But I'm still mad.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm kind of just bouncing around and trying to feel it out. I've enjoyed everything I've played though. I think if this experience has taught me anything, it's that like there's a lot of great games out there.
I am
That are
definitely
all worth your
guilty
time.
of absolutely. You're absolutely right. I am definitely guilty of just playing WoW and not really playing anything else. I played Mass Effect off and on back in the day, so that was one of the other games that I picked up. Is I went and bought the original Mass Effect trilogy to kind of have one more playthrough of it, kind of sequentially, go through the whole story, see all the things, and then next year they're going to release the remastered 4K version. Plus, they're working on a new game, so it's kind of exciting to be exploring new games in that respect, that sort of thing. I also have been playing Jedi Fallen Order, their most recent solo Star Wars game. It's been a lot of fun. So yeah, being able to kind of not have old trusty WoW to go fire up has definitely led me down some new paths of games, and it's always awesome. So
It
if
does that,
WoW is
yeah.
a grind for you, yeah, and brand new expansion dropped today. I doubt anybody is tired of WoW right now, but if you get to that point, go play another game. There's tons of awesome things out there. You should employ moderation. Moderation in all things, especially in moderation.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. That's by the way, that if for anybody listening to the podcast, the expansion did release today, so there's a lot going on in WoW, and it's still really fun. It's just been a very very large shift for the multiboxing community as a whole.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are struggling with the login boss right now. She's always
Yeah,
always the first boss of a new
I
expansion.
hope you didn't log out.
No, I'm really impressed. My characters have not logged out. I'm not messing with them at all, but they are still just chilling in town. It looks like, or whatever this new place I'm in is. Zoc, in Final Fantasy, I want to touch on I guess your progress. Like, what level are you right now in there? Like, as your team?
So my team got to level 52.
Oh wow!
I'm only level
because it's double. You got double experience, right? Because you're on one of like the preferred servers, I guess it is.
So Final Fantasy has these preferred servers where you get 100% XP up through level 70.
Man, okay.
But you're still. So the thing is, though, you're still like held back by that main story quest line. So the MSQ, like, you have to play through it.
Oh, so you're literally stuck. You just have to do the storyline,
well,
basically.
I don't know about stuck, right? Like, I'm at level 49, but
Yeah.
I'm taking a breather from the MSQ. I got everything to level 50. The MSQ is like 49. I know that there's a bunch of content sitting at level 50 waiting for me.
Yeah.
Because it's not like I'm going to hit 50 and then go to 51 immediately. I have to play all of the level 50 MSQ content.
That's what ruined me on my last venture into Final Fantasy 14 was the level 50 MSQ. It is brutal. So like Super was saying, if you could moderate that and just like go through it smoothly, because I tried to burn through it. I was like, oh, it's like 100. I don't know. I think they changed it now. It's like 180 quests. It's like 180 quests. It's brutal. And like a lot of them are like, go here and then go all the way across the entire world to the other side and then come back to me. And it's like just to say hi to somebody.
So much gold on teleporting. It is ridiculous. Or Gil, sorry.
Yeah.
No, but to that point, right? So the way I'm managing that is I knew this wall is coming, and I'm like, I'm not gonna burn through it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
I didn't do any of the optional dungeons yet. I'm leveling a second job set.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
I've got like 2 sets because I've got 100% bonus XP anyways. Like, I'm constantly like 5 to 10 levels ahead of the MSQ.
If I'm remembering correctly, you still need to level alt jobs anyways because they're sub jobs, correct? Like subclass of your main job. Or is it required to? I think there's something about having a secondary.
Changed it the way it works now. Everybody has like a class, and then at level 30 that becomes a job.
Yeah.
Then one that has 2 like jobs off of it, and then there's alternate jobs that are like
okay.
just added.
It must be that it was required to have like you had to have like level 30 of this job and then level 20 of this job in order to become this other job.
They
is what it
changed
was.
that. They got rid of that.
Oh, really?
I've heard people reference that, but that's not a
Okay.
thing anymore.
'Cause,
Yeah, so you don't need sub jobs anymore. But I'm doing 2 jobs at the same time to kind of break the monotony and
Gotcha.
do some more. I kind of want to see the dungeons
Yeah.
a little bit more. And right now it's like, well, I'm level 52 and I've only done the required dungeons. Like it's a waste of my time to sit here on on this job and like do this level 30 dungeon. That doesn't make sense. So
So kind
the dungeons in order.
of going on a throwback of that, the Final Fantasy XI was their previous MMO, and I multi-boxed that one as well. And that one had the sub-job system where you literally, your class was basically way below where it should be if you didn't level a second job up in order to put it as and your sub-job was basically half the level of your main job. But you had to have some kind of sub-job, and it had to be optimized of what your character was. Or else your character just didn't perform in groups.
Yeah, I'm really
and
glad they got rid of that.
nobody would invite
Yeah.
you. It was very,
Their class system feels so good now.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Yeah, it was brutal because you're like, oh, I just hit level 40 and my sub job's only level 18, so I'm gonna have to like drop the group and go level my sub job now, but I'll be back later, guys. And it's like
I did find it annoying that I had to go do class quests, and then in order for my team to be viable, like I have to do 3 different like jobs.
Yeah.
So I have to do 3 different quest lines at the same time.
That is true. Yeah.
And then I was like, well, if I do 2 different job sets, I could do like just switch the characters around and then just do like all that way everybody has like at least 2 characters everybody has the same jobs. And I was like, no, that sounds absolutely miserable.
So for the WoW players, think of doing your Legion artifact quests on different characters at the same time. Is essentially that complexity.
Yes, that's a really good point. Yeah, because you're stuck in there too. The storylines are a little long, so that is probably like a little bit of a negative multi-boxing. But
you only have to do it once.
Yeah,
so.
you agree. You do it once, you get through it, and then then you do the content as a team. As you're higher.
I mean, I did a dungeon this week. It was like a level 30 or 40 dungeon. I think it was level 41. It took me 3 hours to like get through it and beat it because you only get 90 minutes in each dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Like they kick you out. Like literally, I was doing the last boss. I had it at 30%, and they kicked me out. Like
and
they're
if
just
you
like,
fail,
oh, you're out of time.
They'll give you buffs when you fail.
Yeah, for the trials.
Oh, sorry, yeah, the
things.
trials they will. Yeah.
Yeah, I beat one because they gave me like 30% extra damage.
That's right.
Like,
That's
I'm
the way
like,
to do
"All
it.
right."
It's like LFR and WoW.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
good.
you actually have to pay attention and do the boss fights right, or if you don't know the mechanics, you will actually get your butt kicked.
Yes.
It's,
No, I
it's
agree.
much less forgiving than WoW in that regard.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun.
It's a fun challenge.
Yeah, the timing of the games feels completely different for me too. The timing it feels like a slower paced game than WoW in some regards, to where I feel like that's kind of a benefit to where it lets me kind of pause and look around because the scenery is incredible.
Yeah.
You have very little time to react when something happens.
Yeah, it's a rope-a-dope effect. Yeah.
It is slower from like a button mashing perspective, but like if you're not paying attention, like, and you make a mistake, that mistake is very consequential. Like
Tarot was even harder about that in as far as punishment goes in that regard, because Tarot was the action RPG kind of MMO.
I played that. Yeah, I think that was
a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, but it was very brutal in regards to where you were standing and getting hit with stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to manage that in WoW right now. I'm looking at abilities on the bosses and the dungeons coming up, and I'm like, maybe I can tank that one and just eat the damage and see what happens, as opposed to like,
good luck.
Yeah,
I think you've got a fun wall of frustration ahead of you.
Yeah, I think so. I'm hoping there's a super secret multi-boxer out there that's not streaming or anything, that just decides to record all their like I need another Red Sork basically. From the dual boxing forums.
It's just a matter of time.
Where he came out, he posted a guide of every single dungeon when BFA came out. I was like, yes, strats.
That guy's content is amazing.
Yeah. So I'm hoping he's playing. We'll see if some videos come out.
I don't know. He posted that DDO post that was like 4 things like super. Like, I'm not interested in DDO at all.
DDO for multi-boxing. I read his post on that. That looked really tough. Yeah, I was he's like, once you get past, there's no follow. It's awesome. Like I can't get past it. although to be fair, Diablo 3 didn't have any follow either, but different style of game, I guess.
Yeah, but you can just run to a corner.
Exactly, just run in a corner, resync exactly. Yeah. So this is the expansion week. I know it's a bittersweet for a lot, but we're making it work. We're adapting and via hardware, via Joe Multiboxer as well as another avenue. So I think there's some really good things coming on the horizon here.
Thank you for
everybody
sharing all
involved.
this too, because
Yeah.
I think everybody was like, okay, well, what's Joe Multiboxer, and there were like a ton of people that were saying that. And like
Well,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, it's IS Boxer without input broadcasting, duh. But then I'm like, I don't actually know how people are going to use this thing. I don't know.
I think we got time for it to evolve, right? And it's basically
Absolutely.
an infant stage. It needs time to mature, and once all the modules are out there, then it's gonna be like, why didn't I use this a long time ago? Is my thought process on it.
If people have been around long enough to remember, when IS Boxer launched, there was no IS Boxer application. You kind of had to write a bunch of XML yourself, and it was gross, but it worked.
I never did that. No.
And it rapidly got a lot better really quick, because Lax was just like, oh yeah, that's awful. Let's just build this application to write the XML for you.
Gotcha. And then it became what it is now.
No.
It's just so easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you guys letting me come on here and ramble about all the different things. It's always good to
I'm
share.
glad. I've never got to actually sit down and have a chat. I like it.
Yeah, this was
It's
nice.
good. It's
Thank
good.
you for coming on here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. With that, I guess we'll call that number 4. That's awesome. We're already 4